Hello humans, welcome to my world of stuff. My name is, and if you're new to this channel, if you've just stumbled across it, this is a channel where I do what lots of people on YouTube do. I unbox things, I show off collections of new media that I bought, which includes DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, and books, magazines, and anything which I think might be of interest to a YouTube crowd. I also do cinema visits, film reviews, and just generally chat about the things that work for me, which tend to be fantasy films, genre films, anything creative and imaginative, and I do reviews and chats and unboxings and all that sort of stuff. So if that sounds of interest to you and you think you might like to see what else I've come up with, you can take a little look there. You go back that way, you'll find my other videos. I think there's about 60 odd at the moment, and they are very odd. I have their reviews and unboxings, all the usual stuff, but done by me rather than somebody else. And if you're interested in this sort of content, then it would be very, very nice. I would love you really very much if you just click that button that says subscribe, because it would be great. I really would like to drive my subscriber numbers up a bit, just to get people having a look at some of this stuff. And even if you don't look at them all, just click the subscribe. That would be really, really nice. I'd love you forever. Well, you know, I'd nod approvingly. A few things to mention before I get on to the reviews and stuff I'm talking about in this particular episode. Some of you who've been here for a while might remember the 50 by 50 competition which I purported to run as this channel was up and running. I didn't run that in the end because I didn't really get a lot of response to it. I tried to encourage people to leave comments and subscribe and all this sort of stuff. Didn't really get a lot of response. So I thought I would just leave it and see if anybody picked up on it, and nobody has. There may well be people watching this who think, you shyster, you promised to give us stuff, but you never did. Well, I will, because I have some stuff lined up for a little giveaway competition, some Blu-rays, if people are interested in Blu-rays and physical media. We are a dying crowd, but we're strong, and we're fighting. If you're interested in stuff like that, next week I think I'm going to run a little competition with 4 Blu-rays for lucky winners. But you will need to get involved to an extent, leave a comment. So I'm just formulating that at the moment. That should be coming up on this channel sometime next week. In terms of the future of this channel and how it looks and how it presents itself to you, if you're regular, you'll be distracted by all the sound of the traffic rushing by outside. That should be changing in a couple of weeks' time, because I'm in the final stages of, well, I'm not doing it, I've just got other people doing it, of converting some space in the house, effectively the garage which I never used, into a sort of a gym stroke cinema stroke additional man cave. And if all works out well there with the geography of that room and the layout of that room, it'll be a lot quieter, and I hope to be recording a lot of video material from that location rather than here with a lot of noise in the background. So should be a slightly easier listening experience if you're distracted by. And let's face it, who isn't? It's amazing. I live in a village just outside Cardiff, and the amount of traffic that goes by most of the day is just amazing. The reason we bought this, because we wanted to get away from the big city and all the distractions and the traffic. But this is a sort of through road through the valleys in Wales, and a lot of heavy traffic comes through, which I don't think we knew when we moved in. It's not a huge problem particularly, but it's just annoying when you're trying to do stuff like this, when there's always this constant background buzz of lorries and cars. And you may have heard the bong of the local church clock. I edited at that point and stopped recording, so you'll have only heard one bong instead of quite a lot. So hopefully where I'm filming will be a slightly better environment coming up in maybe about 2 weeks' time, hopefully, all being well. And I also need a bit of a quiet place, part 2, because I got a writing project which I'm undertaking very soon, which is going to take me probably the rest of the year. I won't say anything else about it at the moment in case it doesn't happen for some reason, but I am at the moment committed to doing a writing thing which will require a certain amount of peace and quiet, and it's a busy, bustling household really, and I'm thinking that the new space will give me a couple of hours a day where I can just sit and focus on this particular piece of work I need to do, and I'll tell you more about that in the months to come, hopefully. One other thing to say before I start talking about the stuff I bought is, once again, apologies for all this caper, this beardy, itchy, now slightly itchy beard, and the slightly messy hair. I am growing this because I've I got some filming in August, as some of you may know. If you're new, you might not. I do some filming work, usually as sort of background artist, but sometimes featured. And it's a crime reconstruction thing, and I'm just growing this beard to look like a real person who was murdered in this reconstruction thing I'm doing next month. So I've got to let all this beard grow, and it's very depressing because every time I grow a beard these days it gets greyer and greyer. Because unlike most of you people, I'm getting older and you're probably getting younger. So anyway, that's me up to date with all my sort of domestic things. It's a busy old time at the moment because there's builders around and decorators and doing this conversion, but it's all going to be worth it because I got a nice projector cinema screen thing set up and a little multi-gym in the corner so I can hone this racing snake figure that you see before you. Anyway, that's all stuff that's going on that concerns me more than it concerns you, but thank you for listening, and if you fast forwarded, I don't blame you. Right, I've bought some new stuff. I've got a new collection of bits and pieces. I know a lot of people do haul videos every week or every few days. I just do it when I've got enough stuff to do, because a lot of people buy a lot of stuff, and I tend to be a bit selective, and I get stuff that I want, whether it's in sales online or in shops. Much as I support physical media like most of us, I do like a bargain. I like to get things a bit cheaper if I can. So I've picked up a few odds and sods in the last fortnight, this being them, and I'll shortly tell you what they all are. Before I do that though, just one more piece of shameless self-promotion for a book which has just come out. I've just received my contributor's copy of it, and it's called UFO, What the Fans Think. You know, probably most of you will know the work of Gerry Anderson in the 60s and 70s, the creator of Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet, and his first proper live action TV series, UFO, which is one of my favourite series. I'm sure you know it, but if you don't, in short, it's the story of an organisation, a covert organisation, which is fighting to hold back a discreet alien invasion by some aliens from a distant planet who are losing their physicality, and they come to Earth and effectively harvest organs from human beings. Terrific 26-part series. It was made in 1969, 1970. It's always been a favourite of mine, and I had a chance to contribute to this book. It's published by Pencil Tip Publishing in Canada. I will put a link down below if you want to get hold of a copy. Basically, it's sort of a unapologetic critical fan reviews and assessments of the series, looking at every one of the 26 episodes with detailed reviews, articles about the impact that the series has had on people, and features articles about the books and magazines and so on, things that came out about the series over the years. I've written several of the reviews in this book because, as I said, it's one of my favourite series. It's one I go back to again and again. I've got it on DVD, I've got it on Blu-ray. I just adore this series because I watched it as a sort of 13-year-old, which is probably the time to watch a show like this because you really get into the hardware and the mechanics of it. It's classic Gerry Anderson with a human cast rather than the puppets. So if you're interested in a copy of that, I'll show you the front of it there with a very nice piece of artwork of a downed UFO in a forest somewhere. On the back is just the same artwork and a description of the text. It's a thin volume, it's 130 odd pages, but it's dense with text and there's no photographic material. It's very much for the hardcore fan, I suppose. But if you are interested, there is a link down there where you can order it from Pencil Tip Publishing. So yeah, that's something I'm just boasting about because I'm in it. Right, in terms of physical media and stuff that I bought over the last couple of weeks, there's a few DVDs, no, there's a few it's all Blu-rays actually, they're all Blu-rays. And the first one I picked up from one of the Arrow online sales, which I think is still going on at the moment. There's lots of sales with premium editions, HMV Premium. You might remember I bought some of those in the last video, and Arrow are now doing a sale, and I picked up this one, Theatre of Blood. This is one of those classic UK portmanteau horror films that have been so influential on people like the League of Gentlemen over the years in terms of the sort of content they come up with. This is from 1973. It stars Vincent Price and the late great Dame Diana Rigg and Ian Hendry. It's a story about a vengeful veteran Shakespearean actor who takes revenge over critics who snub him and are dismissive of his performances. I haven't seen this for years. It is a great, really classic sort of Probably quite cheesy by today's standards, but a quite chilling sort of 1970s early horror film. The edition actually, when it arrived, it's one of these ones from Arrow which have got reversible covers. The cover it originally came in was that one, which I'll show you there, which I wasn't very keen on because it's a bit too modern. It's got that sort of modern design on it, but the text and the back of it's all the same. But I just prefer this. It's more I just think it's, I don't know if it's an original poster for the film or a different design, but I just prefer that. I think the other one makes it look a bit darker than it actually is. I haven't really looked at it yet, and it's one I might actually put on this weekend. So that's Theatre of Blood, from the Arrow collection, on sale at the moment, and I've seen it years ago, I haven't seen it for years, but it's a great good old fashioned, it's fairly typical of that sort of early 70s blossoming of horror films, and they start to get a little bit pushing against the boundaries a little bit. It's 15 certificate, so obviously it's not super violent, but it's not for kids. So that's Theatre of Blood. Next one's I picked both of these up from eBay because I was interested. One's a film which I haven't seen for years, which I really like, and this one I want to see because the sequel's on its way. This is your Tom Cruise in the original version of Top Gun from 1986. Incredible to think that this is 35 years old now. Amazing. I've never seen it. Didn't see it at the cinema at the time. Not seen it in any of its physical media incarnations since. I've not seen it when it's been on TV. With the sequel on its way, and I think back then I wasn't a massive cinema goer as such. Now I am, and I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise. I think he's great. He's a great, I was going to say he's a great actor, but he's a great presence. He's a proper movie star. We don't get a lot of those these days. Stars him, of course, and Kelly McGillis. It's the story of Maverick, a young in-your-face US fighter pilot with a need for speed, a lot to prove, and even more to learn. The sequel Maverick is out later this year, and I will be going to see it because I do like Tom, and I'm going to take a look at this at some point soon. As you can see, it's still sealed, so somebody didn't like it or didn't want to watch it, so I picked this one up for I'm thinking about £8 on eBay, I think it was, which is a bit of a steal. So there it is, Top Gun, lots of special features, and the inside is just a bog standard disc with no particular art, but very nicely, of course, it comes with your slipcase. So it's another one I will be taking a look at soon, and certainly before the new movie comes out. There's another one which is a sort of an old favourite of mine, which I only saw a few years ago. I didn't even know about it, and as some of you might know, I still do reviews and work for Starburst magazine, the world's longest running magazine of fantasy, horror and science fiction. This is a British horror film from 1986, which I saw years ago when I had a review disc sent to me by Starburst. It's recently been re-released on Blu-ray with some new special features, and when I read the review that somebody else had done for the magazine this time, I thought, I'd like to get hold of a copy of that. Looked online and it was about £13 on Amazon, which is fine, but I thought, well, I'll hold on a little bit, and then I found it on eBay. I picked it up for £6 with postage. It's called Link. Stars Terence Stamp and Elizabeth Shue, who of course has gone on to bigger and better things since then. But I really enjoyed this. It's a 4K restoration, even though it's a Blu-ray, as you can see. To chilling horror from cult director Richard Franklin. An American zoology student, Jane, takes a summer job at the isolated English home of her lecturer, who is exploring the link, hence the title, between man and ape. Soon after her arrival, he vanishes, leaving her to care for his 3 chimps, the savage Voodoo, the affectionate childlike Imp, and Link, a circus ape trained as the perfect servant and companion. A disturbing role reversal soon takes place between them, and Jane becomes a prisoner in a simian house of horror. This is great. I mean, as I say, I saw this on DVD several years ago when it came out in that format. Now it's out on Blu-ray, remastered with nice special features. It's an obscure title. It wasn't a massive hit, but it is very much a cult film, and I'm very pleased to have picked this up on Blu-ray for £6 plus postage. Because again, it's another one that wasn't opened by its original owner. So yeah, I can recommend that if you've never seen it, and I will shortly be starting up on this channel retro film reviews, just going through my collection. I've got 2 which I'm going to be hopefully filming this weekend. I won't tell you what they are, just wait for them to turn up. But I will be doing this film, Link, at some point, because I think it deserves a wider audience. Yeah, open it up, and again, it's a normal blue DVD case, but it has got some art, quite an amusing image of one of the apes on the disc itself. As I said, I'm very pleased to have picked this up box fresh and in its slipcase. So there will be a retro review of this coming up on this channel very soon. And if you're interested in sort of unusual creature features, this is well worth a look. It's yeah, it's really well done, and it's good old British film. The next four are all ones that I picked up from CEX yesterday. I had a handful of bits and pieces. Occasionally I'll go through my collection and prune things that I think, well, this is just taking up space. One of the things I got rid of incidentally was the Back to the Future Blu-ray box set. Now I've upgraded to the 4K, as you'll have seen from a video I posted, which is up there somewhere. So I got rid of a few. I had a voucher for about 17, 18 quid. It wasn't a massive haul of stuff. And I went through and picked up a few pieces off the shelf of my local CEX. And my local CEX is decent enough, but it doesn't do much in the way of 4Ks. The ones they've got there have been there for a while. And they've got quite a lot of the old HD DVDs that came out when there was that sort of battle between Blu-ray and HD and Blu-ray 1. And they've got a few of those there, and I don't know why, because I can't imagine anybody to buy them. So the 4K selection's a bit slim. So I just went through and picked up a few old titles, which looked in good condition, which I haven't got in my collection. The first one I picked up was Darkest Hour. This is the award-winning performance from Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill. Yeah, this is great. Directed by Joe Wright. It's Hitler's forces storming across the European landscape and closing in on the United Kingdom. Winston Churchill is elected the new Prime Minister, with his party questioning his every move, and King George IV, sceptical of his new political leader. It's up to Churchill to lead his nation and protect them from the most dangerous threat ever seen. It's very much a character piece. It's not a big spectacle. It's a historical piece, but Gary Oldman's performance is fantastic. There was another film which came out around about the same time. I think it was called Churchill, with Brian Cox. Also well worth a look if you've never seen it, but this is really good. Yeah, I saw it in the cinema a few years ago, and not seen it since, and I think it was about £1.50 in CEX, so if you do see it about, it's well worth grabbing hold of. An Oscar winner next, from 2017-2018, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And I've seen this, obviously it's online streaming, but a physical copy for I think $250, $350, with a brilliant Frances McDormand, who's such a terrific actress. She's won, what, 3-4 Oscars now, and she won this year for Nomadland, which I've not seen yet, but we'll catch up with. Yeah, I mean, you probably know about this. Darkly comic drama that's been hailed as one of the year's best films. The murdered girl's defiant mother boldly paints 3 local billboards, each with a controversial message, igniting a furious battle with a volatile cop and the town's revered chief of police. Great film, really good drama, great performances. Most of these films actually are not in the sort of genre which I would normally go for, of fantasy, science fiction stuff, but they're such great films in their own right that, you know, especially discount prices, and the boxes looked in good condition, so I anticipated the discs would, and each of the 4 that I've picked up, you know, no smudges, no finger marks, no scratches, so, you know, they're virtually new really, and it's a nice one to have in the collection. It's one I will watch again soon. I've only seen it once, but definitely well worth another watch. The third one, which I picked up in CEX yesterday, talking of Tom Cruise, is another one of Tom's best, Collateral. Now, I wasn't sure, because I've got quite a lot of Blu-rays, and I wasn't entirely sure I didn't have this. I got home and discovered I hadn't, so I was quite pleased. There's nothing worse than picking something up and then discovering you've already got it. This is unusual because it's you usually see Tom as the macho action hero, you know, the two-handed fighter against wrong, and you know, Ethan Hunt and various other characters. But here he plays a determined, desperate hitman who's got 5 stops, 5 jobs to do, and he falls into the orbit of Max, played by Jamie Foxx, who is a cabbie with great dreams but not much to show for it over the years, and these two are sort of thrown together in a night of extreme violence and extreme terror. Again, I haven't seen this for some time. I think it goes back to 2004. And it's unusual to see Tom playing the baddie, and he does it very well. I'd like to see him do it more often, but I think he's probably locked into that sort of all-American hero figure now, so it's difficult to see him doing other things. But it is nice to see him doing something like this, and this is a film, again, I've not seen in 15 years, so again, it'll probably turn up in my retro movie review series at some point. Plus Collateral with Jamie Foxx, this again was a couple of quid. I think I had 15 quid in vouchers probably, and I think I had to put another quid or two to make up for the shortfall of what I had. The last one I got, Paddington 2. I haven't actually got the first one on Blu-ray. These are great, great fun family films. I'm not a massive fan of these sort of anthropomorphized animals in films, and I'm not a big one on a lot of the animated films. But there's something about this. These films are so well done and so charmingly done. Directed by Paul King, and of course you've got Ben Whishaw, the voice of Paddington. Great cast: Hugh Bonneville, Sally Hawkins, Brendan Gleeson, Judy Walters, Jim Broadbent, Peter Capaldi, and of course great turn from Hugh Grant as the villain of the piece. You may remember Nicole Kidman was the baddie in the first one. This is just great fun. It's probably just as good as the first one, and the news broke this week that the third one is on the way. Starts production next year, so that'll probably turn up end of next year. Just good fun family films, just feel good films, and I think the way things are still in the world at the moment, there's no harm in a bit of good knockabout family slapstick fun. This one came out 2017. Paddington 2, and again the disc is virtually new. You get quite nice sort of artwork on the disc itself. I'll show you that there. And again, as you can see, the disc is pretty spotless, so pretty pleased with that. That's Paddington 2. That's the last of my disc-based pickups. The only other pickup I've got to show you in this episode is a comic book pickup. Now, you've probably seen, I've certainly mentioned that I've been collecting old Marvel comics back from the 60s and 70s. I'm not a fan of modern comics. I've tried them. There's a new Black Widow collection that's just been released in newsagents to sort of capitalise on the new Marvel film, which is great, by the way. Check out my review. And Marvel have been doing that when WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki came out. They've collected some comic strips, and I bought one or two of them, but because they're the modern style, it just doesn't appeal to me. I think I like the naivety and simplicity of these sort of superheroes versus supervillains of the original comics. And I picked up for, I think it was 15 quid on eBay this week, Marvel Masterworks Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. These are quite hard to find because they came out years ago, and I was quite surprised to get this one quite cheap, so I'm assuming it's not one of the rarer ones because you see them online out for 50-60 quid. Hardback, nice chunky hardback with a slip cover, which collects all the it collects the first 10 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man, and his first appearance in Amazing Fantasy back in 1962, and the first 10 issues of his own title, which followed shortly afterwards. It's a book that's in great condition. I've already got the Essential Spider-Man collections. I've got the first 5 or 6 of those. In fact, I've got the first 8 of those, and that collects in black and white hundreds of the early Spider-Man comics, but it's nice to get these in colour. And I understand that there's a pocket money sized paperback reprints coming out in the UK soon of a lot of these, so I will be probably hunting some of those down as well. And it's got some of the classic, the original Spider-Man, and fantastic Steve Ditko strips, and those charmingly naive the Steve Ditko artwork and the charmingly naive Stan Lee scripts. But it's just, these are this is the superhero stuff that I remember so well. Of course, it was the 70s by the time we got a lot of this stuff over here, so it was already the better part of 10 years old. But the original Spider-Man stuff is timeless, and I'm not a big fan of the modern gritty, harder sort of reinventions that they do these days, and I don't like the artwork, and I just don't like the fact that it's all so po-faced. Right, before I sign off, my only other pickup of the week is one that came today from Mr. Amazon. 2 books which I ordered, thinking yesterday. I'm quite surprised with the packaging. It's not, although it's appropriately packaged, there's 2 books in here, but they're not incredibly well sealed. It's just literally in a sort of a flap. No tape or not sealed in any way, but fortunately the books aren't damaged. They're in very superb, mint condition, so I'm not complaining. It's just unusual packaging. So put that aside. First of these, couldn't resist this because there's a lovely little volume. It's a collection of H.G. Wells' most well-known stories. He is, of course, the father of science fiction, as you know. And this collects 6 of his novels: The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Invisible Man, War of the Worlds, First Men in the Moon, and The Food of the Gods. Time Machine and War of the Worlds I've got several copies of, dotted about here and there. But I thought this was 16 quid, I think. A lovely treasury with some nice sort of inside artwork, Rocket to the Moon artwork. Lovely sort of mottled cover. It's got nice golden, sort of gold-edged, leaf-edged pages, and it even has, I notice, inside here, a handy little bookmark. Yeah, nice little bookmark. So I think, even though I've read most of these before, it's a nice one to have on the shelf because it's classic science fiction. A lot of these books, a lot of these original stories are, of course, where so much of today's science fiction came from. The Time Machine inspired things like Doctor Who. War of the Worlds is the classic alien invasion film. There was an version of The Invisible Man, which came out last year, with oh God, Elizabeth Moss. Can't think of her name. Great actress. So these films are still extremely influential, and they are the cornerstones of science fiction. So it's nice to have them all together in this nice big chunky, rather beautiful new hardback edition. The other book I got, I saw this. I think this came up on Facebook. I don't know how these algorithms work. They seem to pick up the things that you like, and I do like these sort of dystopian, apocalyptic fiction books. So I noticed this one. It's called This Fragile Earth. It's the first novel by Susanna Wise, and this is sort of right up my street. Basically, I'm always amused by the people whose reviews are commented on. You've got people like Aisling B, the comedian, Julie Christie, the actor, Stephen Baxter, the science fiction writer. So it's an odd collection of people who are quoted as enjoying this book, but it does sound like my kind of thing. What if the world stopped working? Not long from now in London, Sidney and Matthew lead a dull, difficult life. They've only really stayed together for the sake of their 6-year-old son, Jed. Then their phones stop working. They aren't able to pay for anything. Even the smart door to their flat won't open. Matthew assumes it's just a momentary glitch, but when the electricity, gas and water are cut off, it's clear something's very wrong. London is no longer safe. People are going missing. Soldiers are on the streets, and amidst all this, Sidney is determined to escape. She's going to take Jed out of the city to the small village where she grew up. She'll do whatever it takes, even if it means her son is safe. But she has no idea what other people will do when the world finally breaks. This is interesting because, of course, this just predicates on, the fact that we all live our lives online. We're all so reliant on technology and electricity and machines and the internet. It's a fragile earth. And what happens when that goes, that stops, and doesn't come back? And I love things like Day of the Triffids and War of the Worlds. I love those sorts of stories where society is a danger. There's a strange fascination about those stories of civilization stopping. And I think it's an interesting idea with the modern civilization. Everything is so automated that you do sort of think sometimes, what would it take for it all to fall down? And this book, which is called, I shall show it again, This Fragile Earth, it's available on Gollancz. This, I'm hoping, will tell a thrilling and exciting story about what happens in just such an eventuality. So look out for that. I might well do a review of this for you. There'll certainly be a review on starburstmagazine.com when I get around to reading it, which will probably be in a while. There we are. That's my pickups for this week. A collection of Blu-rays, books, comics, bit of everything there. I hope you've enjoyed me wandering through these things and telling you what they are and why I bought them. Let me know if you've picked up anything interesting lately, and I'm talking about physical media. I'm not interested in your sex life. Well, Anyway, leave a comment down below, which would be lovely. Don't forget, please be a chum. Like and subscribe. That would be awfully nice of you. And until I see you next time, you know what they say. You keep taking this stuff.